Hello, this is Dr. Ned Hallowell for Distraction. Back with me today is one of my absolute all-time favorites, the wonderful Jessica McCabe from How to ADHD. Today we're bringing you a special episode sponsored by Landmark College in beautiful Putney, Vermont, the college of choice for students who learn differently. Welcome back to Distraction, Jessica.
Thank you.
Thank you. What do you have in store for us today? You always bring some wonderful, wonderful tip.
Oh, thank you. So today I kind of want to talk about a metaphor I came up with. So one of the things that really becomes an issue in college for a lot of ADHD brains is motivation. Maybe for the first time your parents aren't around to make sure you're getting stuff done. You're responsible for doing everything yourself, for motivating yourself. Your teachers aren't going to check in with you. You're responsible for getting stuff done. And a lot of times we find ourselves not doing the things we know we need to do. Not starting the paper, not studying, sometimes not even going to class. And I think that the assumption when you don't really understand ADHD is, well, you must not care, right? Like, right. You're skipping class, you're not doing your homework, like you must not really care about getting this degree. And I don't think that's true because I don't think ADHD brains are really all that motivated by something being important. And we know now that ADHD affects motivation, both how motivated we are and by what kinds of things tend to motivate us are a little different than neurotypical brains. And if you think of it like there's this chasm between knowing what we need to do, like write a paper for our class, and actually doing it, that chasm is usually bridged by motivation. For most people, for most tasks, let's call it motivation bridge. And it's built using motivational planks, like this is good for my career. It will make my family proud.
Right.
I know that this is important. Like all of these planks help us cross that bridge. And little gaps in motivation bridge can be hopped over using willpower. Maybe I'm not like completely motivated to do the thing, but there's enough motivation that I can get there. I can do it. And so people look at people with ADHD and like, well, just do it. It's important. Do it. Here's the thing. We don't have little gaps in our motivation bridge. We've got these huge gaps, like half the bridge is missing because we get fewer motivational planks. Something might be just as important to us as somebody without ADHD, but we don't get the same number of motivational planks. So
right.
We might be sitting there looking at this task going, I know I need to do it. I want to get started, but I can't. It almost feels like there's this physical thing stopping you. And it's so confusing because you see other people and they're getting over theirs just fine. And in the back of your head, there have been times when you were able to do this thing. And so why can't you now? And I think it helps to conceptualize it as, last time maybe there were more planks. Maybe the task, was more exciting then. And now you're having to do it again, but it's not as exciting this time. So you don't have the planks to get over that bridge.
Right.
So I think what helps is instead of beating ourselves up when we're not doing the thing, or just like trying to kind of brute force our way into it, it can help to stop and look at our bridge and see what planks are missing and then fill in the planks. So according to research, ADHD brains have trouble with tasks that are like lengthy, repetitive, boring. We're not going to have, no matter how important that task is, we're not going to have enough planks to get us over that bridge. So things that tend to give us a bunch of motivational planks are things that are urgent, things that are new or novel, things that are of personal interest. Also things like I'm good at this task tend to give us planks, although that's true for everybody. But some tasks naturally include those planks, which is why they're easier for us. So like video games, right? Like it's not really that hard to sit down and play a video game because there's always something new going on. Everything's urgent. Like you got to do this right now or you're going to die or whatever. And it's engaging. Video games are built to be engaging. Homework is
right.
not, as it turns out. So for the tasks that don't naturally provide the motivation we need to do them, we can actually add that for ourselves. We can fill in those blanks. And I think there are a few ways we can do it. We can make a task urgent. We can use the Pomodoro technique, set timers, challenge ourselves to see how much, of our paper we can get done today, or, break it down so that we don't have to do the entire paper by this deadline. We have to do a piece of it by this shorter deadline and another piece by this shorter deadline, right? Making it urgent. We can also make it new. We can find new ways to do things. Or, if you're given an assignment and that assignment is boring to you, you can find a way or ask the teacher if you can do a twist on it that's a little more engaging that would still qualify as that project.
Right.
And we can make it personally interesting too. So a lot of the time, and I know you talk about this a lot, like ideally we want to be studying something we're interested in. We're interested learners. We want to have a job that we're engaged with, right? Otherwise we're having to constantly put in planks and constantly be adding accountability and timers and this and that. And that's exhausting, right? Having to generate these motivational planks for ourselves all the time is exhausting. So whenever possible, it's great if what we're doing already comes with with the motivation we need to do it. I love what I do. I love doing YouTube. I love learning about this stuff and educating people about this stuff. But there are still times when I have to do things like taxes or, paperwork, things that I don't enjoy doing. And for those things, I need to learn how to get my brain engaged enough to do it. Because otherwise it's going to take me so much longer. I'm going to avoid it. I'm going to feel terrible about the fact that I'm avoiding it. And I just waste so much time and energy. So I've gotten to the point in my life where I don't even try to start on something without making sure those planks are in place, without making sure I'm motivated, making sure my brain is engaged in some way, turning it into a game or, whatever it is. Like, I use these little psychological tricks because it might take me a couple minutes to figure out how to get myself engaged, but that's going to save me an hour or a day or a week or a month, however long it is.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, so many of the folks I work with complain that they just don't feel motivation. I think with ADHD, the energy of activation sometimes is a lot. It takes a lot to get us going. Once we're going, we're great, but getting up that hill, the energy of activation, which is a term from chemistry, can be considerable. And your tips, as always, provide catalysts, to go back to chemistry, provide ways of reducing that energy of activation, so you don't have to roll the boulder uphill.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't have to try and make these huge leaps over this giant chasm that are unrealistic. They really are. We're sitting on the couch doing something else and like beating ourselves up for not starting studying. The way our brain is designed is to say like, I don't want to do that. That's going to be long. It's going to be boring. I'm not good at it. There's all these obstacles in the way. Why are we beating ourselves up for the fact that our brain is naturally gravitates toward things that are urgent and new and interesting and challenging and all of those things, when we can use the creativity that we have, because, ADHDers are so creative. We have these, this divergent thinking, this ability to think outside the box. We can use our ADHD strengths to deal with ADHD challenges and imagine this metaphor, imagine this bridge, and go, what could get me over that bridge? What planks can I put in place instead of just sitting here and beating myself up? Yeah,
that's so good. And use your creativity to, like you say, imagine, well, what might work? What could work? What might I do, instead of just looking at the obstacle and saying there's nothing I can do, allowing the negative thoughts to rule.
Yeah, and really just accepting that this is how our brains work. We don't get as much motivation. Dr. Barkley talks about it as like motivational deficit disorder is really, what ADHD is. Yeah. This is how our brain works. And the sooner that we can accept that and learn how to work with it, the better, because it's not our fault. It's not our fault that our brains work like this. And it's not even, once you learn how to work with it, it's not even a bad thing that our brains work like this. We just have been told for so long that we're supposed to function in this one certain way, which is to, buckle down and do the thing and remember that it's important and, obligation and blah, 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 things that don't work for us. And so when we try those things and they don't work, we feel this sense of shame. And I'm kind of at the point where I'm just done with it. I'm done feeling shame about the fact that my brain works this way because A, it's not my fault. B, I kind of like it. I'm kind of proud of it.
Yeah, Jessica, I'm glad you're done with it. And you should be proud of it. I mean, my goodness, look at what you do. As no more shame, but how about welcome pride? I mean, Jessica McCabe, watch out world, here I come, and that's who you are. I mean, you're just, sure, you have your down cycles, we all do, but the sum of it all is pretty spectacular. You should be very proud of your brain and yourself.
Thank you. And thank you for being one of the first professionals to really go out there and say that we can be proud of this, that we can embrace this as part of our identity and not have to feel ashamed of it.
Most of the great discoveries in the world over centuries have been made by us. So, the world owes us a lot, and we ought to lay claim to the pride we deserve. It's time for
like
ADHD that. Proud. And,
ADHD pride, I like it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm afraid that's all the time we have. My tremendous thanks to the wonderfully brilliant and positive and affirming Jessica McCabe for taking the time to join us. Go to howtoadhd.com to watch all of Jessica's amazing videos filled with tips, tricks, and insights about the ADHD brain, and it is a treasure trove. Go to howtoadhd.com. And a special thank you to our sponsor, Landmark College in Putney, Vermont, the college of choice for students who learn differently. Visit lcdistraction.org to learn how Landmark College supports students with ADHD and other learning differences. Find your place at Landmark College. I'm Dr. Ned Hallowell. Thank you so much for joining me. Distraction is created by Sounds Great Media. Our producer is the unbelievably spectacularly talented Sarah Guertin, and our recording engineer and editor is the reliable, stalwart, and stellar Pat Keogh.